National Anthem is a love story, and it's a Western for the New World. It's a family story. It's a coming of age film. It's about finding your people and reconciling the family that you're born into. It's told through the experience of Dylan, who's a 21-year-old construction worker in New Mexico. He helps take care of his younger brother and his alcoholic mother, and he's offered a gig working at the House of Splendor, which is a homestead built by a community of queer ranchers and rodeo performers. And gradually they welcome him into their group, and he has this opportunity to discover himself and explore and to fall in love for the first time. And it's really, about the power of love to transform us and open us up to the multitudes within us. And it's a portrait of America as a symbol of hope and freedom. And even for those who are excluded from that, taking that power back and saying, no, this is my country too, and I can be whatever I want to be.
I played Dylan, who, like Luke just beautifully described, is on this experience of a lifetime in a lot of ways, beginning to open to themselves in a really profound way through love, through falling in love, not only with one person, but like Luke said, a family of people, and finding love for his own family in the process, and building on that. And yeah, that's that's essentially the character in short, as short as it can be.
I play Sky, who is Dylan's love interest. She's a genuine cowgirl, and she's a barrel racer in the rodeos. And yeah, she sort of finds something really special between her and Dylan, and I think she really longs for it. And ultimately, she decides to give that up, which is kind of giving away the ending. But
The journey is what matters.
the journey is what matters, exactly.
And then I play Carrie, who is a gender non-conforming drag artist who somehow wandered into the ranch and never left. And it becomes a bit of like a friend and a surrogate mother and mentor, a lot of things to Dylan, which is very, in experiencing the film now as someone who's seen it with an audience, like it's very cool to see Carrie sort of supplement emotionally a lot of things in the film and in their relationship that Dylan doesn't necessarily get from other places. So I sort of fill in some cracks, like in life.
Well, it really comes, it's a story about family, and so it really comes from that deeply personal place with my own family. My father was in the Professional Rodeo Cowboys Association, so I grew up going to rodeos, and all my earliest memories are there. And I fell in love with it from a very young age. There's just such a magnetism to the rodeo. There's, hairspray and denim and dirt and animals and nature and glitter and rhinestones and music, all the things that you would love as a kid. But as I grew older, I came to understand just how kind of dangerous it is for a young queer person. And so I drifted away from it. But in 2016, I discovered that there's a whole subculture for people like me who love Western culture, want to have that community, want to connect more deeply with nature and animals. And they have this circuit called the International Gay Rodeo Association. And so I started going to these rodeos. They really welcomed me into their community and family, much like Dylan's experience, and opened me up to a whole world of possibility. And it was just an electric charge of belonging that I had never felt. And so it first was a book called National Anthem of portraits and essays. And that process of making the portraits and sharing the stories while making portraits led to the script that we have today.
We had really great horse wranglers on this film. There were 3 of them, and we all learned how to ride with them, and I spent a lot of time with them, and learned a lot from them, and it was really, really exciting to find myself fitting into that place while we were shooting. And then like the last 4 days of shooting, we were at a real rodeo, and it was my first rodeo, and it was so overwhelming to see that, like, I don't know, fitting into a place like that is very common, you know, for a lot of people, because it was not a place that I thought that I would fit in, but I did, and it was beautiful.
Yeah, I think I had a very similar experience. I'm from the South. I was born in the South, and I lived in Texas and North Carolina, and so I had like a lot of previous history with rodeo culture, but it was the sort of aggressively heteronormative, like cisgendered, white, abrasive kind of energy that like never in a million years would I thought that like I would be a part of making anything that even touched on those themes or those kinds of challenges. And so to kind of dive into it, similar to what Eve said, in our current like fullness of experience and fullness of identity, it was really exciting to watch all the people who may or may not normally like be teaching. I'm literally trying to figure out how we should ride horses in tulle dresses and comparing it to like other movies that they had worked on with like, very prominent actresses, but like they're talking to trans actors in a way that was like really just beautiful and eye-opening. And I think if you give everybody a chance, especially heteronormative like cis men who have been just as affected by gender politics as we have in many ways, and in stifling certain magical qualities that they have, an opportunity to kind of grow and to express things that they may not have felt comfortable doing. Like it creates a safety in this kind of weird microcosm of empathy and kindness, and I think that's what the movie accomplishes really well. It's a feeling that like I wish I could bottle up and just like take with me everywhere, but the film really felt that way as we were making it, and the people felt that way as we were experiencing them, and yeah, it just continued to reinforce this idea for me that like you just need to give people time and a chance and empathy and energy, and like often you'll receive the same kind of kindness back if they're willing to like work on it, which is a beautiful thing.
I thought that was a really beautiful answer. I don't know if I can do much better than that. Yeah, I think to add the tiniest thing onto what Mason just said, I think that going into it, that awareness of that stereotype and us trying to bring a new idea that was genuine to these people, and obviously is a huge part of this community that already exists and is flourishing. I think that was something that we were very aware of, but then when it came time to actually being in the midst of it, it was never something that we were addressing or felt like we needed to be overly clear about or anything. I think the entire emphasis was on grounding it in who these people were and what their daily lives actually were, rather than any broad idea of what anyone might think these people would just be on the surface level.
So many people that have experience in this world have been so inspired to see it reflected back from their actual experience, and then it's interesting seeing others maybe from more city experiences that feel like it's a fantasy. But from my own lived experience, this is a real, these safe spaces do exist. Queer and trans folks have been around since the dawn of time. They've been finding each other since the dawn of time and creating these spaces, and it's a very real thing. And in this time that's so scary for so many people, I think it's so important to have stories like this out there to give us hope and to show that there's another way and it is possible. And we also were constantly pushing each other to create something that we hadn't seen before. We've all seen these queer tragedies. Every rural queer story we've seen has been a tragedy. And so it was a real mission of all of ours to kind of peel away those cliches and show something that was true, but also not something that we'd seen before. So that was something that I really appreciated about this cast and crew, was constantly supporting one another and also pushing each other to do something that felt honest as well as fresh.